So, who can forget this moment on the 2016 campaign trail?
Look at my African American over here. Look at him. Are you the greatest? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Wow. It's still good. It's still unbelievable. Now the man Donald Trump called My African American says that he is leaving the GOP, can't support the president anymore. That man is Gregory Cheadle, and he joins me now. He is also, by the way, running for Congress in California's 1st congressional district as an independent. Thank you for joining us. And you have to laugh at that. You even laughed at that moment while it was happening, right?
Of course, man. It was funny.
Yeah.
You know.
Welcome to the show.
It was funny back then.
At the time.
Thank you for having me in.
At the time, you said that you weren't offended by what the then candidate Trump, I should say, said. So,
right.
What have you seen since Trump's become president? What has changed your mind about him and about the party?
There's breaking news tonight in the attacks on the oil fields in Saudi Arabia. The president today saying it appears that Iran is behind them. He also didn't rule out the possibility of retaliatory strike by the U.S., although it appears that some in the administration are trying to walk back the president's own language. Take, for instance, whether we will attack Iran. The president sounded very warlike in his tweet last night. Quote, Saudi Arabia oil supply was attacked. There's reason to believe that we know the culprit are locked and loaded, depending on verification, but are waiting to hear from the kingdom as to who they believe was the cause of this attack and under what terms we would proceed. Now, obviously, locked and loaded, which is what the president said, is a term we're all familiar with. It references our military posture. It's a direct reference to weaponry. It's pretty clear. But then this morning, things got less clear. Vice President Pence's chief of staff, Mark Short, was asked about the tweet and the term locked and loaded. Here's what he said.
I think that locked and loaded is a broad term that talks about the realities that we're also far safer and more secure domestically from energy independence.
Locked and loaded, he's saying, is a broad term about energy. Independence. Has anyone ever actually used the term locked and loaded in that way? Our fossil fuels are locked and loaded? It doesn't really make sense. We're locked and loaded with natural gas and other fossil fuels, not to mention wind and solar. Keeping them honest, we all know what the president meant by locked and loaded. Clearly, the vice president's office doesn't want to come out and say, oh, just disregard the tweet sent out by the president last night. Instead, they're pretending it means something else. It's not the only attempt in the midst of this crisis to walk back something the president has said. Now that the administration appears to be considering a strike against Iran, the president is claiming he never said he wanted to negotiate with the Iranian president without any preconditions. On Sunday, he tweeted, "The fake news is saying that I'm willing to meet with Iran, no conditions. That is an incorrect statement as usual." Now, the problem with that, we should point out, is this president's tweet is just not true. In fact, not only has the president's outspoken about meeting with no preconditions. So have other members of the administration, and it's on tape. Let's play.
You want to talk good, otherwise you can have a bad economy
No
for the next
preconditions?
3 years. Not as far as I'm concerned. No preconditions.
No, I think the president's made it very clear that he's more than prepared
With no preconditions.
to have the discussions with no preconditions
Okay.
with the Iranians.
Now, the president has made clear he's happy to take a meeting with no preconditions.
The president's made very clear he's prepared to meet with no preconditions.
So I believe in meeting. I would certainly meet with Iran if they wanted to meet.
Do you have preconditions for that meeting?
No preconditions. No. They want to meet, I'll meet. Anytime they want. Anytime they want. It's good for the country, good for them, good for us, and good for the world. No preconditions.
All right, well, that seemed pretty clear. And that last statement, by the way, that was from July of last year. So this has been a talking point for well over a year now. Suddenly, though, the president wants to pretend otherwise and is just making stuff up. Today, he continued doing just that.
Well, you know, there were always conditions because the conditions, if you look at it, the sanctions are not going to be taken off. So if the sanctions, that's a condition. So, you know, that's why the press misreported it.
Okay, I'm not exactly sure what he's trying to say here, but I think it's that even though he said he would meet with no preconditions, and many people in his administration have verified that's what he believed, he's saying there are tough sanctions in place, and the president is now calling those conditions, and because those sanction conditions wouldn't be lifted to talk, any talk that took place wouldn't be a talk without preconditions. Does that make sense? It doesn't. For the latest, I want to go to CNN White House correspondent.
You know the day destroys the night, night divides the day. Try to run, try to hide, break on through to the other side, break on through to the other side, break on through to the other side, yeah. We chased our pleasures here, dug our treasures there, but can we still recall the time we cried? Break on through to the other side, break on through to the other side. I found an island in your arms, country in your eyes. Arms and chains, eyes and line. Break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side. Break on through, oh yeah! Rain to sea, we go eat, day to day, hour to hour. Baby straight, deep and wide. Break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side. Break on through, break on through, break on through, break on through.
To news and politics now. Senator Elizabeth Warren cemented her position against government corruption last night during a speech in New York City, where she urged Democrats to embrace her call for fundamental change.
What has this corrupt business as usual gotten us? The extinction of one species after another as the earth heats up. Children slaughtered by assault weapons. The highest levels of inequality in a century. Wages that barely budge. Crippling student loan debt. Shrinking opportunity for the next generation and the one after that and the one after that. The American people get it, and they are We're sick of it.
So Warren spoke in Washington Square Park near the site of the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire of 1911, which, due to corrupt working practices, killed 146 garment workers, most of them women and immigrants. According to the New York Times, the New York City